are gathered in the Spirit, though our bodies are apart, filled with joy and touched with wonder, separate hands but mingled hearts, giving thanks and singing praises for the love that calls us on from our many different places. We are gathered into one. We are gathered in our sorrow. We are gathered in our fear, in our pain and in our worry, in our anger and our tears, as we tend to one another with our gifts and with our care. Our community is strengthened through the faith and hope we share. We are gathered in commitment to a planet that is home. Works of justice, acts of kindness, bless the world and heal our souls. As our voices join together, may our song of peace resound. May we offer in abundance all the grace that we have found.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Hillsborough online worship service. My name is Steve Mahaley, and I'm your worship coordinator for today. I would like to thank our speaker, Pal Palmore, Wendy Calvin, our producer, Aviva Enoch, our music coordinator, and the many wonderful singers who will be featured throughout the service. Most of all, I would like to thank you all for joining us. Each week, we take a monetary offering to support our social justice work in the community. This support comes in the form of donations. This month, the donations support the discretionary fund. If you know of anyone in need, please get in touch with Wendy Calvin. Now, let's ready ourselves for worship together by reminding ourselves of who we are and why we gather. We are a community of liberal, open-minded people who strive to connect with one another in love. Our spiritual home is located at 1710 Old North Carolina 10, but our community stretches far and wide, with loved ones who join us from all over the country as we engage in Sunday worship online. We are a people defined by covenant, not creed. That means that we have committed to a way of being with one another rather than to a statement of belief. To that end, we support each other in spiritual growth and deepening of faith. We challenge one another to find more love, both inside ourselves and in the world. And today, we welcome you with open arms to our house of worship.
All of us are loved. Each of us is welcome. No one is a stranger. No one is an outcast. No one is alone. Everything we do, when our hearts are grateful and our lives are faithful, makes a better world, one that we can call everybody's home. Juntos por amor, cada quien precioso, nadie es extraño, nadie es invocado, nadie sin calor. Cada paso fiel lleno de color como una flor. All of us are loved. Each of us is welcome. No one is a stranger. No one is an outcast. No one is alone. Everything we do, when our hearts are grateful, and our lives are faithful, makes a better world, one that we can call everybody's home. Everybody's home.
Ours is a welcoming community where we find connection, a sharing community where our joys are celebrated, and a caring community where our sorrows are lessened. Each Sunday, we take a moment to share and reflect on the special happenings that have occurred this week in our lives. For those of you who would like to share in the comments or the chat, please do, and know that everything shared aloud or felt in silence is held dearly in the heart of this community.
To All Get Free Together by Chris Crass. Our goal is not to have white people sit alongside a person of color so as to affirm that those white people aren't racist. Our goal is to build and be part of beloved community, united to end structural oppression and unleash collective liberation in our faith communities, schools, neighborhoods, workplaces, and throughout society. Our goal is to join our hearts and minds to the task of destroying white supremacy in every worldview, every policy, law, institution, and governing body of our society. For our faith communities to be places of healing from the nightmare of racism that haunts people of color and white people. For our faith communities to be places of nourishment, sustaining the multicultural struggles of our people to advance economic, racial, and gender justice. For our faith communities to be part of the continual process of working within the movement as part of the journey to end oppression in society.
Where is our holy church, where race and class unite, as equal persons in the search for beauty, truth, and right? Where is our holy writ? Where
Good morning. Our theme for these services this month is the beloved community. So I want to talk about the beloved community and how we might get there. In 1969, the General Assembly of the Unitarian Universalist Association passed a resolution committing the UUA to becoming anti-racist, anti-oppressive, and multicultural congregations. That's pretty much what the beloved community is all about. Over the half century since then, some progress has been made towards that goal. We have elected or hired some persons of color. Some educational materials, such as the Journey Toward Wholeness, has been produced, and our own Allison Mahaley was recently awarded a grant to develop and lead workshops on anti-racism. But over the years, enthusiasm for this hard, controversial work tended to ebb away, until recent events, such as the brutal police killing of George Floyd and the election of a racist president, led a revitalization of anti-racist movements, such as Black Lives Matter. As part of these movements, several anti-racist groups within the UUA, such as the BLUU, which stands for Black Lives of UU, have proposed that we add another, an eighth principle to our established 7. ADORE has been established by Paula Cole Jones, one of the authors of the 8th principle, to push for the adoption of this 8th principle. The principle, as it has been proposed, now reads, "We, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and in our institutions." That sounds pretty good to me, except that it's awfully wordy, and as a sometimes editor, it seemed to me that we could reduce those from 42 words to the following 24 words with no loss of meaning. I propose that we could reduce it to the following: we, the members of the Unitarian Universalist congregation, covenant to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community, to dismantle racism and other forms of oppression. I think some such editing may be important to avoid the confusion and tediousness of the longer version. However, even more important is what we do as individuals and as congregations and as a nation. What can we do as individuals? Well, we can become an anti-racist, not just avoiding being a racist, but becoming anti-racist. It's not sufficient to just avoid being a racist. Yes, we need to examine our own feelings and subtle assumptions and stereotypes and purge any racism we discover. But that's just the first step toward the beloved community. We really need to become actively anti-racist. We can do that by joining anti-racist organizations such as the NAACP or the American Civil Liberties Union or the Anti-Defamation League. I used to support the Southern Poverty Law Center, which is anti-racist, but I do not support them anymore because of the scandals involving misuse of funds by some of the leaders. Furthermore, we can educate ourselves. We can read about outstanding African Americans that have helped build this nation and make this a better world, such as Barack Obama and Martin Luther King and John Lewis, Representative John Lewis, and the architect Julian Abele, who designed the West Campus of Duke University. Most people never heard of, but they have now named the main quadrangle in his honor, the Abele campus. We can also intervene in the event of any racist jokes or stereotypes that we hear. When you hear these things, don't remain silent just because it might upset somebody. Invite the person into perhaps learning about why telling racist jokes are unacceptable. We can try to make our congregation and other clubs and organizations we belong to more diverse. We can even try to develop some friends ourselves who look different from ourselves, although this may be difficult during the current pandemic. What can we do as a congregation? Well, we could plan more interracial events so that we can get to know people of color better. We could devote several of our Share the Plate collections to interracial organizations. And when we're ready to look for our next minister, we should make sure that we include some ministers of color among the candidates. We could endorse some version of the 8th principle. I would feel honored if we endorsed my shorter version. How about our nation? What can we do as a nation? Well, we can vote against or remove from office any official who makes any racist comments, including negative racial stereotypes. I believe this is underway as we speak with the impeachment of our ex-president. We can also not tolerate any white supremacist organizations, especially those advocating violence. We should remove all symbols of white supremacy, such as Confederate flags, monuments, army bases, schools, and streets named after Confederate generals and leaders. We can support programs which indirectly tend to benefit minority groups more than majority groups, such as a minimum wage of $15 an hour, public schools, Medicare for all, free tuition of state colleges, and acceptance of more asylum seekers. Finally, we could develop a program of reparations to begin repayment for the loss of income and so forth from slavery, lynching, Jim Crow, and other forms of oppression. There's now been introduced a bill in Congress, I believe it's House Resolution 40, which calls for the establishment of a committee to investigate and propose possible forms of reparation. I'd like to close with some tips that I found on the internet about how to make ourselves personally more beloved. First of all, do not worry, because worry is the most unproductive of all human activities. Do not be fearful, because most of the things we fear do not happen. Do not cross bridges before you come to them, because no one has yet succeeded in doing this. Do not take problems to bed with you, because they make very poor bedfellows. Do not borrow other people's problems, because they can care for them better than you can. Do not try to relive yesterday, because yesterday is gone forever. Concentrate on what's happening in your life now. Be a good listener, because only when you listen do you hear ideas different from your own. Do not become bogged down by frustrations, because most of frustration is rooted in self-pity and will only interfere with positive actions. Finally, count your blessings. Count them one by one, never overlooking the small ones, because a lot of small blessings can add up to a big one. In conclusion, I hope you will join me in working towards a more beloved community and making ourselves more beloved. It will enrich our lives and make the world a better place. Blessed be.
I'm on my way.
I'm on my way
to the freedom land.
to the freedom land.
I'm on my way.
I'm on my way
to the freedom land.
to the freedom land.
I'm on my way.
I'm on my way
to the freedom land.
to the freedom land.
I'm on my
I'm
way.
on my way.
Great God, I'm on my way.
I'm on my way.
I asked my sister.
I asked my sister,
Come and go with me.
come and go with me.
I asked my sister.
I asked my sister,
Come and go with me.
come and go with me.
I asked my sister.
I asked my sister,
Come and go with me.
come and go with me.
I'm on my way.
on my way.
Great God, I'm on my way.
I'm on my way.
I asked my brother.
I asked my brother,
Come go with me.
come and go with me.
I asked my brother.
I asked my brother,
Come and go with me.
come and go with me.
I asked my brother.
I asked my brother,
Come and go with me.
come and go with me.
I'm on my way.
I'm on my way.
Great God, I'm on my way.
I'm on my way.
If they don't go,
If they don't go,
I'll go anyhow.
I'll go anyhow.
If they don't go,
If they don't go,
I'll go anyhow.
I'll go anyhow.
If they don't go,
If they don't go,
I'll go anyhow.
I'll go anyhow.
I'm on my way.
I'm on my way.
Great God, I'm on my way.
I'm on my way.
I'm on my way.
I'm on my way.
And I won't turn back.
And I won't turn back.
Yes, I'm on my way.
I'm on my way.
And I won't turn back.
And I won't turn back.
I'm on my way.
I'm on my way.
And I won't turn back.
And I won't turn back.
I'm on my
I'm
way.
on my way.
Great God, I'm on my way.
I'm on my way.
We extinguish this flame, but not the spark of joy in our worship, the fire of commitment, or the warmth of community. Blessed be, my friends, until we meet again.
Shalom Chaverim, Shalom Chaverim, Shalom, Shalom, Lehitraot, Lehitraot, Shalom.